Hello, and welcome to Your Brain Lied. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're going to talk about anxiety. Everyone experiences it, right? That knot in your stomach, that racing heart, the endless what-ifs swirling around in your head. It's uncomfortable, disruptive, and frankly, it can feel like your brain is working against you. But what if I told you that your anxiety, that feeling you often see as the enemy, is actually trying to tell you something? What if it's not a malfunction, but a messenger? Let's unpack that a little. Think about anxiety like the check engine light in your car. When that light comes on, it's not because your car hates you or wants to ruin your day. It's signaling that something needs attention. Ignoring it might seem easier in the short term, but eventually, you'll end up stranded on the side of the road. Anxiety works in a similar way. It's a signal that something deeper needs your attention. And often, that something isn't just about the immediate situation that seems to be triggering the anxiety. It's often connected to deeper, more fundamental fears. Things like losing control or facing uncertainty. Let's start with control. Control is a big one for a lot of us. We live in a world that constantly tells us we should be in control. Control of our careers, our finances, our relationships, our bodies, the list goes on. We're bombarded with messages about optimizing everything, from our sleep schedules to our personal brands. But the truth is, life is inherently unpredictable. There are forces at play that are simply beyond our influence. And when we try to grip too tightly, when we demand control in situations where it's just not possible, anxiety often rushes in. Imagine this. You've been working hard, putting in extra hours, aiming for that promotion at work. You've visualized it, you've planned for it, you've basically built your whole world around getting that promotion. You feel like you deserve it, you're qualified, and you've done everything right. But the decision isn't yours. It's up to your boss, the company's overall strategy, a whole bunch of factors outside your immediate grasp. The waiting, the uncertainty, starts to eat at you. You find yourself checking your email constantly, replaying conversations in your head, maybe even snapping at your partner over something trivial. What's happening here? On the surface, you're anxious about the promotion, but underneath, the real fear might be losing control. The fear of not being able to dictate your own future, of having your efforts judged by someone else, of feeling powerless. Or consider this scenario. A close friend is going through a tough time. They're struggling with a personal issue, and you really want to help. You offer advice, you listen, you try to be supportive. But their situation seems to be getting worse, not better. And you start to feel anxious. You might start obsessing about their problems, losing sleep, worrying about them, even resenting them a little for not taking your advice. Again, on the surface, it looks like you're anxious about your friend. But dig a little deeper. What's the underlying fear? It could be a fear of losing control over their well-being. You want to fix things for them, to make them happy, to make the pain go away, but you can't. You can only offer support, and ultimately, their journey is their own. The inability to control their happiness, their recovery, is what's fueling the anxiety. Now let's talk about uncertainty. If control is one side of the anxiety coin, uncertainty is definitely the other. We crave certainty. We want to know what's going to happen to feel safe and secure. But life is full of unknowns. The future is by definition uncertain. And for many of us, that uncertainty can be incredibly anxiety-provoking. We tell ourselves we need to know, we have to figure it out now. Think about planning a big event, like a wedding or a milestone birthday party. You might spend months meticulously planning every detail, from the venue to the catering to the seating chart. You want everything to be perfect. But even with the most careful planning, things can go wrong. The weather might not cooperate, a vendor might cancel at the last minute, someone might get sick. And the thought of these potential hiccups can trigger intense anxiety. You might find yourself checking the weather forecast obsessively, triple confirming reservations, running through endless worst-case scenarios in your head. What's really going on here? The anxiety isn't just about the event itself. It's about the fear of uncertainty, the fear of the unknown, the fear of things not going according to plan, the fear of being unprepared for something unexpected. Here's another example. You're considering a career change. You're unhappy in your current job, you feel unfulfilled, and you know you need to make a change. But the idea of starting something new, of leaving the security of your current position, fills you with dread. You might spend hours researching different career paths, talking to people in different industries, trying to map out every possible scenario. You weigh the pros and cons endlessly, but you just can't seem to make a decision. The fear of the unknown, the uncertainty of what the future holds, keeps you stuck. The anxiety isn't really about the specific job you're considering. It's about the uncertainty of leaving what you know, even if what you know isn't great. So what can you do with all this? How can you start to reframe your relationship with anxiety, to see it as a messenger instead of an enemy? The first step is awareness. Start paying attention to your anxiety. Don't just try to push it away or ignore it. When you feel that familiar knot in your stomach, that racing heart, ask yourself, what's really going on here? What am I afraid of? Am I trying to control something that's beyond my control? Am I struggling with uncertainty? The key is to gently investigate the underlying fears. Picture it like peeling back the layers of an onion. The surface layer might be the immediate situation that's triggering the anxiety. But as you peel back each layer, you start to uncover the deeper, more fundamental fears that are really driving the emotion. Once you've identified the underlying fear, you can start to challenge it. Ask yourself, is this fear realistic? Is it based on facts, or is it based on assumptions? What's the worst that could happen? And if the worst does happen, could I handle it? Often, when we examine our fears closely, we find that they're not as scary as we initially thought. We might realize that we're more resilient than we give ourselves credit for, that we have the resources and the skills to cope with whatever life throws our way. For example, if you're afraid of losing control in a situation, try to identify what aspects of the situation you can control. Maybe you can't control the outcome, but you can control your effort, your attitude, with your response. Focus on those things. Let go of the things you can't control. It's like learning to surf. You can't control the waves, but you can learn to ride them. If you're struggling with uncertainty, try to embrace the unknown. Remind yourself that life is full of surprises, both good and bad, and that even when things don't go according to plan, you can still learn and grow. Practice mindfulness, meditation, or other techniques that help you stay present in the moment, rather than dwelling on the future. Focus on what you can do today, rather than worrying about what might happen tomorrow. Think of it like planting a garden. You can't control the weather, but you can prepare the soil, plant the seeds, and water them regularly. You trust that the seeds will sprout and the plants will grow, even though you can't see it happening right now. This isn't about eliminating anxiety altogether. Anxiety is a normal human emotion. It serves a purpose. It can help us stay alert, prepare for challenges, and protect ourselves from danger. The goal isn't to get rid of anxiety completely, but to understand it, to learn from it, and to prevent it from controlling your life. To listen to the message, but not let the messenger dictate your every move. Think of anxiety as a compass. It might not always point you in the right direction, but it can give you valuable information about your internal landscape. It can show you where you're holding on too tightly, where you're resisting change, where you're letting fear hold you back. So what are some practical takeaways from this conversation? First, practice active listening. Next time you feel anxious, don't just dismiss it or try to suppress it. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? What am I afraid of? What's the underlying fear? Journaling can be a really helpful tool for this. Just writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you gain clarity and perspective. Second, challenge your assumptions. Once you've identified the underlying fear, ask yourself, is this fear realistic? Is it based on facts or is it based on assumptions? What's the worst that could happen? And if the worst does happen, could I handle it? Finally, focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't. Identify the aspects of the situation that are within your control and focus your energy on those things. Accept that there are things you can't control and try to let go of the need to control them. Remember the surfing analogy. You can't control the waves, but you can learn to ride them. And just a couple of reflection questions for you to consider this week. Think about a time recently when you felt anxious. What was the situation? What were your thoughts and feelings? And what do you think was the underlying fear driving that anxiety? Also, consider one area of your life where you're struggling with control or uncertainty. What steps can you take to loosen your grip, to embrace the unknown, and to trust yourself to handle whatever comes your way? Remember, your brain isn't always telling you the truth. Sometimes, it's exaggerating the danger, overestimating the risk, and underestimating your ability to cope. But by learning to listen to your anxiety, to understand its underlying message, you can start to take control of your thoughts and feelings and live a more fulfilling and authentic life. Thanks for listening to Your Brain Lied. Subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.